just needed someone there. Fortunately for me, I happened to be the one. Didn't want to. Not my forte. But she wanted me up here. So I was up here, and I sang, and everyone rejoiced because she was here. And she sang. And she could sing. She did not have as good a voice as Chris. She did not have as good a voice as many people. But I had, there was a Dave Nisley, a client of mine. He said that Mrs. Hamilton came down to Morgantown and sang for us on a few different occasions. And there were many great singers there. And there were many great people with guitars and instruments, and their voice just went out. And then Miss Hamilton would get up there, and she didn't have any instruments, and she didn't have anybody with her, but she set the church on fire. And some people are just like that, and she was one of those people. And so I was fortunate to be up here and to be able to watch her. I was able to watch her, and that's what I did. I watched her, and I loved it, and I enjoyed it for 3 years. Well, she couldn't sing on her deathbed. And so she had not been to church for quite a while. And it's one of those times I was there along with a house full of people. And of all things, she said, "Lee, would you sing to me?" I knew she was not talking to me, but she said it 5 times. She said, "Lee, would you sing to me?" I did. So I sang to Mom, and somewhere along the way, she started singing. And the house erupted. And I learned what song is all about. That it takes a person to a place. It takes them away from their current situation. It takes them away from their current problems. It takes them to a place of beauty. It takes them to a place where they have been, where they've seen joy. It transcends time. It transcends the present moment. And it takes them to where they need to be.
Amen.
I learned that. And I learned that on my mother's deathbed. You think that there's no more things to learn from an individual, but there's always things to learn. As I listened to Phyllis, as she was in the church, she was up here and she was talking about what she was trying to accomplish. And I thought, well, Phyllis, you don't need to accomplish anything. You've accomplished all that life has to offer. You've been a Sunday school teacher for 50 years. You've been in the church. Your family's in the church. And she was saying, I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do better. And I'm hoping that God will be patient with me and will teach me more. And here's Glenn. Glenn's in the church. And Glenn, when I became a pastor in the church, I didn't really know Glenn at all. And Glenn had been in the church too. And Glenn's like a father to me. I've learned, and I know you have too, Chris, learned so much from Glenn in his experiences and how he handles difficulties and the stories that he tells. It's just a treasure. It's just a treasure.
Amen.
So, I guess I've had a number of experiences, and one I had this week. And this week, a guy called me, a good client of mine, and I handled a lot of his money. We rolled over his lump sum pension at the meet, and we did a lot of different things. And people were asking about him because his son was in the hospital. And I called him and left him a message as to how his son was. He didn't call me back. But then on Thursday, he did call me back. And he was in Detroit. He did not get my message. He was in Detroit. His son is in the hospital. His son has pancreatitis. Something inside his pancreas blew up. And his son was going into surgery that day. As a matter of fact, he'd already gone into surgery. And this person's wife said, "Why don't you call Lee? Why don't you call Lee, and maybe he will know," of course this was about their income tax. Well, this person was a tax preparer. He said, "Well, I don't need to call Lee about that. But I do need to call Lee to ask him to pray for us." He did. He called me, and it touched me that he would think to call me in his moment of need. And so he started talking about his son. He started talking about in Detroit, Michigan, in the hospital in Detroit, Michigan, with his 40-year-old son, something like that. And he has been on life support for part of this time, and then they're having to clean out his lungs from whatever happened to his pancreas. Clean out his lungs and other parts of his organs for what has happened. He's in a very serious condition, and he may not survive the condition. So, as he calls me, and he asked me to pray for he and his son, it touched me. But more than that, I said, "Do you mind if we pray now?" And I did. I've not done that before, Lynn. This was a new experience for me. And he was sobbing at the surgery that was about to happen, at the things that had been happening for 2 weeks. And so we prayed. Well, I was on the telephone in Nipton. He was in Detroit in the hospital with his son.